Man, my mom gonna take you to court. And 2 chances 1, you gonna go to court. You got to prove your innocence. So it's a lot of things that have changed. And you know, my dad used to tell me if I did something wrong, and I said I'm gonna pick up the phone, call the police boy, he give me the phone. He gave me the phone. He said, "Come here, son. Here's the phone. Now go ahead on dial 911 or call downtown." He said, "Now when you get through," he said, "I'm gonna tear you up. I'm gonna go to jail for something." And so you think about it, picking up that phone, and you would pick it up. You go ahead on and take that punishment.
That's right. That's right.
So it's a different day.
That's right. Totally. So now as a close-knit community, we back on Jefferson Stadium. That meant that everybody, you would see the community. It would be an event in a sense. Everybody would be there.
Right.
You know, and can you name some of the greats that played there? Like I named Lester Hayes, but I want people to know because as I stated, when you Google Jefferson Stadium, it's like they wiped out all the history and all the records. Everything on it, you know, it's like it's blank.
You had Otis Taylor, he played at Jefferson Stadium. You had Singletary, who made it to the NFL, he played at Jefferson Stadium. You had a lot of great players that came out of Houston that played at Jefferson Stadium.
Come on.
Jefferson Stadium was the training ground for most minorities.
Come on.
And Turkey Day was the main day.
It was the main day. That's wonderful, man. That's wonderful, Brother Zollie. And another thing though, that's on my mind is I hear a lot of people now. They talk about the El Dorado Ballroom, which is that history is kind of forgotten.
Well, the El Dorado Ballroom back in the day when my dad first come to Houston, that's where he would go to all his dances right there on Elgin and Dow. I got a chance to go to the El Dorado after I come out of high school before they closed it down. It wasn't no bigger than this. As a matter of fact, it was smaller, almost smaller than this room. You had one way in and one way out, up the stairs and out. It was but people would pack it. They would just pack the house. And let me say this, back during those days, you know, women wear all color lipsticks today. But back then, they didn't have 2 types of lipstick. Red
and red.
Lipstick. And dark red lipstick. That's all they had. They wore a little rouge. They put a little rouge on their face on this side. They put a little rouge on this side.
They were ready.
And they wore them rabbit furs doing the women. They wrapped them furs around their neck with the rabbit feet hanging down in the front. They called them the foxes.
Foxes. And they had some good entertainment that used to come through. You know, I heard of James Brown perform there, and Cab Calloway, Brother Moore was telling me.
Yeah, you had a lot of performers that came through back then, man. You had Fats Domino. You had a lot of the old timers who came through back during those days. The El Dorado Ballroom was the #1 spot in Houston for old people back then. And guess what? They dressed up when they went out. They wore the big baggy pants. They didn't wear no little tight pants, no pants hanging off their
They wasn't
ribs.
sagging up.
No, wasn't no sagging.
Wasn't
no sagging.
Yeah, that's right. Men was men, women was women.
Women was women and men were men. You had Wolf's department store. They're still on Darling Street.
Still on. That's right.
They're still on Darling Street.
That's right.
You had one of the main churches in Houston, St. John. It's still on Darling Street.
Come on.
You had St. John on Gray. It's still on Gray Street.
Come on.
You had Jordan Grove Missionary Baptist Church, which used to be on Gray and Darling. Now it's on Anita and Live Oak.
Come on.
You had Reverend N.S. Brown on Elgin.
Come on.
Oh man, I could go on and on.
Well, this is Houston history that needs to be told, you know, because a lot of people are forgetting, you know, the roots and the foundation that it was built upon. And, you know, and one main thing is, you know, you see a lot of people that's not originally from Houston that's just moving down here, and they don't know the history. They need to know the history too, and pay homage to great brothers like yourself who maintained that history, but also build, as I stated, a foundation for us to stand on shoulders that we stand on today. because you got to remember in those times with racism so prevalent, to keep the fight and to keep the pride and the honor in the race and in the people, you know, and to keep the discipline and things in line, as such as we stated earlier, that's very important. It wasn't just a wild city. You know, we had structure. You know, we had events. We had, as you stated, black-owned businesses and everything. So that just needs to be known to this future generation on how things was, especially from someone who witnessed it and that was actually there.
I'll tell you another thing too. We started talking about department stores. Foley's department store was one of the main stores in Houston for blacks back during that time. And when I was a little boy, most blacks shopped in the basement of Foley. They had water fountains with colored on the water fountains and white on the water fountains. The water fountains that they had colored on was hydrant water. The water fountains that they had white on was ice cold water.
Come on.
And the restroom, they had white signs on restroom doors for whites. You go in there, they had one of us giving out cologne, and brushing you off and giving you liquid soap. You go in the black folks' restroom, it was hard lava soap. That old hard soap with the old hard paper towels. And so it was all together different back then, man. We come a long way. Marvin Zindler, who was one of our main people in Houston, Texas, for whites, he cared about blacks. When I was a little boy, we used to go to Marvin Zindler. He was a salesman at Zindler's, which was one of the largest department stores in Houston, Texas. They ended up in the Galleria. Now, they had a store on Hadley and Darling called Rubenstein. Rubenstein was a store for all black people in 3rd Ward. It was on Hadley and Darling. That's where you go and get all your school clothes, get ready for school. You had the Senate Grill on Darling Street. You had the Park Theater on Darling Street. You had the Darling Theater on Darling Street. All these Klein's Ice Cream Parlor on Darling Street. I'm trying to think of the Wesley Chapel Church was on Darling Street. You had all these places were back on, man. You had the barbershop. Barbershop we had. What was the name of it, Mr. Houston? What was the name of that barbershop? I don't know. You can't remember that barbershop? We had Barber College. Yeah, right across from the Park Theater. Right. It'll come to me in a minute. I'll tell you what the name of it was. It was right across from Park Theater. Right. Reddick's Ice Cream Parlor. Right across from Emancipation Park. Now, Emancipation Park was the place where all black people would go and swim. Right. That's one of the best swimming pools they had for us to go to and swim. No, it wasn't Park View Barbershop. The Barber College. Oh, Barber College. I know the name of the Barber College. What name? I'm trying to think. You kind of helped me. You're a little bit older than me, Mr. Tyler Barber College was the name of it. Tyler Barber College. They had nothing but red barber chairs from this end to that end. When I was a little boy, I used to go look in the window and watch them cut hair. I had no idea one day I'd be a barber. It's going to show you how things work. Kelly's Drugstore. Kelly's Drugstore on Holman and Ennis. It was very well known. Yeah, the Elgin Drugstore, they sold hand-packed ice cream off of Darling and Ennis. You had a lot of good places. A lot of things. There you go. That's it. A lot of good things that we had as a people that we were involved in. That's right. Mills Photography Studio on Darling. Miss Mills, she would take your picture, she'd get up under the cover, and she had a little bird. She said, "Watch the birdie, baby. Watch the birdie, baby." And she said, "Boop." And it was on. Just get your picture. Look, I really appreciate your time, taking us back in this history and sharing it with the public, you know, because so it won't be lost, you know, and so it can be forwarded to generations to come and this present generation, and give us pride
within ourselves and help reconnect that unity and that vibe amongst one another. And as we move forward to own more businesses within our community and keep building and making money with each other.
Well, I'd like to say one more thing before we go.
Yes, sir.
As far as getting out to vote for black people in the city of Houston, that was my dad. He worked real hard in this city to get out the black vote, to turn out the black vote, to get the things that we needed in this city. He's dead and gone, but his name still stands. There was a park in South Union named Zollie Scales Park. His name after my father. There are some condominium apartments or apartments over off of Carter and Scott. That's named after my dad. He cared about his people.
What was your dad the head of?
Huh?
What was your dad the head of?
He was the head of Harris County Council of Organization here in Houston, Texas.
Come on.
One of the founders of Harris County Council of Organization, one of the largest political organizations in the state of Texas. That's what he was.
Okay.
And he fought hard for his people. Many nights he'd get out of his bed 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and go take women down and get their sons out of jail. He had one guy coming here one time, he just got out of prison. He was sitting in the barber chair and I introduced myself. He said, "You're not Zollie Scales." I said, "That is my name." I showed him my license. I said, "But you're talking about my dad."
Right.
If it hadn't been for your dad, I'd have got life in prison.
Oh, come on.
He said,
That's
"I
a
got
blessing.
10 years in prison."
Come on.
If it hadn't been for your dad. So I'm just trying to tell you, we had people that cared about us.
Right, right.
Like the Beulah Shepherd out of Acres Home.
Yeah, okay.
One of the war fighters, Sid Hilliard.
Come on.
Out of 3rd Ward. All these people were people who cared about us and fought for us. Huh? Oh, wow.
Come on.
Yes, sir. We had Reverend G.E. Moe.
Come on.
Out of Harrisburg.
Come on.
One of the first black churches in Harrisburg, Reverend G.E. Moe. From Hearn, Texas. From Hearn, Texas.
Come
That's
on.
Right. But we had a lot of warriors in this city. That's the reason why Houston is like it is today.
Okay.
Because we had people here that stood up.
Right.
And when Martin Luther King was going from city to city, fighting for our civil rights, they told Martin, "Don't come to Houston." They started elevating blacks here in Houston. They started getting blacks to be vice presidents of corporations like Exxon and Gulf Enterprise. They told Martin, "You don't have to come to Houston." They didn't want that problem.
Right.
Because the blacks here, they stood up and fought for what they need.
That's right.
He never did have to come to Houston, Texas. Rosa Parks. I remember Rosa Parks when I was vice president of Harris County Council. We sat at the Sheraton Houston Hotel at the same dinner table. I share this with you. When they changed the streets from South Park to MLK,
Right.
Papa King and I rode in the limousine from the Intercontinental Airport all the way out here to South Park Village.
Wow.
It was raining that day. We brought him here. We brought him here. We asked Martin, would he come? Well, I mean, not Martin. We asked Martin's father, would he come? His wife, would she come? Loretta, she wanted $10,000 to come to Houston to cut the ribbons on the street. Papa King said, "No, we'll be there. All I want you to do is take care of my hotel, my food, and my transportation." Papa King and I sat in the motorcade. We drove from South Park Village. We stopped at Zelensky, off of Zelensky. We came on down to Van Fleet. There was a little girl standing at the corner. She was knocking on the window. She wanted to see Papa King. He said, "Stop the motorcade." They stopped the motorcade. He rolled the window down. He said, "Open the door." He opened the door, and he hugged that little girl. Her mother was standing there. She said, "I want to see Dr. King." So he said, "How far do you all..." He talked to her about riding down to McGregor Park where they had the ceremony. And he said, "Can y'all make room for this lady and her little girl to ride with us to McGregor Park?" And they said, everybody scooted over, and they rode to McGregor Park with us. That was a guy named Ovi Duncan-Taylor that was there. That was me on the podium with Ovi Duncan-Taylor, the president of Harris County Council of Organization, many other community leaders. And I introduced Papa King to the city of Houston back during that time. And we cut the ribbons on the street. We cut the ribbons on the street. And that's how the street got named from South Park to MLK.
MLK.
A lot of people don't know how the street name was changed. They went down to City Hall over at Duncan Tail and a group of leaders to try to get the street changed. They tried to get Main changed to MLK, but they wouldn't change it. They tried to get Fannin changed to MLK, but they wouldn't change it. So they came back to the Harris County Council's organization, and my father at that time was the first vice president of Harris County Council, and I was president. My dad went down before city council and told them that we must have a street named MLK. And they said, well, Zollie, what street do you think we can name? He said, well, what about South Park Village? South Park, it runs through from South Park Village all the way through. They said, I think that's a good idea. And that's how they changed the street from South Park to MLK. And that's the reason why the street is named MLK today.
Oh, that's wonderful information. A lot of people didn't know that. I had no idea, you know, that South Park Boulevard changed to MLK.
Right.
I grew up on MLK and didn't know that the reason why it changed to MLK. You know, that's what because the history, that's important for people to know their history, you know, and to reference those who do know and that was there. You know, that's an art within itself.
And see, Scott Street was a shell street. It was a shell street. You could always tell when it was going to rain. They had big ditches on each side of Scott Street. And when it was going to rain, the tractors, the city of Houston sent the tractors out to grade the streets. And we knew it was going to rain. Cullen Middle School was an all-white school. We moved in South Union in 1952. It was an all-white school from OST all the way up to Cullen School on both sides, except when we got to Cullen. You were on both sides. It was all white. After you passed Cullen School, it was all black. It was all black. We couldn't go to Cullen. We had to go to Worthing High School.
What's
that?
Go to Jones?
What's that? Reed Road, they're in the Road Haven. And also in Sunnyside, they had what we call a city dump. They had the dump in our community.
Come on.
They didn't have it in the white community. They had the city dump. We had to live with the city dump in our community for a long time before they moved. So black people have been through a lot.
A lot.
They've been through a whole lot, man.
Right here in the city of Houston, man. This is black history.
They had Mason Motors, Sunnyside Elementary School on Holmes Road in Scott. Across the street from Sunnyside Elementary School was Mason Motors. That was the only black car dealership in Houston, Texas. Eddie Mason was in charge of that dealership. You had a cab stand right there across from the school also. You had OK Drive-In. OK Drive-In was like Ritz Drive-In or Princess Drive-In. That's where all the mailmen hung out, at OK Drive-In. Black people have been through a lot, man. They've been through a whole lot.
Definitely, man. That's their resiliency. We still strive and survive.
Right.
You know, it's in our genes, our genetic code.
We had our first black city councilman, Judson Robinson Jr.
I heard, Brother Judson.
Judson Robinson Jr. was our first black city councilman in this city. That's right. Our